From the glories of antiquity right up to present day, Greeks have always enjoyed their wine. Weddings, gallery openings, romantic dinners for two. Wine here is as ubiquitous as fine food and balmy summer nights. You know, people here say you can taste the history in the wine, and they're right. But take a wine tasting tour of this beautiful country, and you're in for more than distinctive historic terroirs and distinguished food-friendly varieties. The new wines of Greece are an adventure in passion, a journey into the undiscovered, full of delightful surprises. I'm Steve Olson, and I'm the guy, right? I mean, I am the wine geek. I am so fascinated by what has happened in the last decade or so in Greece, my peers sometimes call me the wine Greek. So, I went to Greece. I experienced, I tasted these perfectly balanced wines with the local cuisine. I realized just how little I knew and how much there was to learn. I felt the love. I was converted.
Look at these nice shops and these little restaurants here around. They are nice.
It would be really cool. I mean, as much fun as we're having, wouldn't it be cool if we could share this with some of our friends?
Yeah.
I mean, imagine if, like, tasting all these Moscofileros and so forth, if instead of just bringing home the notes, we could actually share that. And we could just, you know what we should do? If we're going to go from here, and then through Nemea, and then over to Montania, and then up, why don't we invite a couple of our friends?
Yeah, we could also visit the wineries we were talking about last night.
We could go to some of the wineries, we could do some of the museums, we can hit some great restaurants. From there, we could go to maybe Santorini.
Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds good.
You know what? I'm going to call John in Canada and tell him to get over here and taste some wine and eat some great food with us and take a road trip. What do you think?
And I call Bizo. Bizo is just free.
That'd be amazing. Well, how do you know he's free with his schedule?
I know,
But
he told me. Wine always, he's always free for wine.
anything for wine in Greece with the food.
Yeah.
Let's give him a call. Let's see what happens.
Okay.
All right, cool. Let's see what he says. It's ringing. Wait a minute, John.
Hello?
John, it's Steve Olson. I'm in Naflio. I'm with Nicole. And we're drinking Moscofilero. We were thinking you should come.
2 phone calls later, and we've got ourselves our very own geek squad. Let's go meet them.
That's good. Powerful. I can't believe how quickly you got here. Welcome to Greece. So glad you came.
This was an absolutely brilliant idea, I have to say. We've never traveled to Greece together. I'm so looking forward to checking a few things out. So what have you planned for us this week?
Well, we've been scheming. We've been scheming, actually. I actually have the map right here. But, you know what, let's look at the map later over drinks.
Yeah, we just have some food.
We'll have some food, but, all right, so what we're doing is we'll spend the evening here in Nashville and enjoy some food and some wine. And then in the morning, very early, we're going to get up and we're going to go into Nemea. And then after that, we thought we'd go over to Montania and Arcadia and talk about Moscofilero since we're enjoying it. We, talk a little bit more about Moscofilero with the people who are making it.
So now that everybody's excited, it's time to bust out the map and start planning. I'd say we have a lot to cover. I can just say I'm glad we're not the ones doing the driving.
But you get up to 3,000. So the idea is we'll get up really early in the morning. after our very late night tonight, and we're going to head straight north and get up into Nemea, where we can just taste Agyorgitiko everywhere.
Our journey begins in Nemea, the largest single red appellation in Greece, home of the Agyorgitiko grape. One of Greece's oldest red grape varieties, Agyorgitiko draws its unique, fruity, and captivating character from the region's temperate climate and breathtaking elevation. That's a very high altitude vineyard. As a matter of fact, maybe the highest altitude red wine vineyard in all of Europe. In Nemea, here we are right now sitting at 1,000 meters above sea level. I mean, in the U.S., that's 3,000 feet, people. No matter where you stand in Nemea, you're never more than a stone's throw away from a celebrated winery. Winemaking runs in the blood of the people here. And if there's one thing they enjoy more than making wine in these parts, it's talking about their wine. Welcoming us into his winery, one of several we visited today, the winemaker delights in explaining how the mild winters, medium rainfall, and long sunny autumns all contribute to the wine's deep color, its concentrated red fruit aromas, and its rich aromatic complexity. This dry wine has a rich body balanced by mature tannins. What an amazing day. I mean, talk about a great way to start your trip. Standing in a vineyard right in the heart of ancient Nemea, where the vine growing is literally interwoven with history. And then off to Lake Stymphalia, a major site in ancient Greek mythology. To this day, a unique habitat of diverse species. And after this incredible visit, then we stop by the Museum of the Environment. Now, that's something everybody should be visiting. Can you even imagine if we had a museum dedicated to the environment in my country? Today, we get caught in a crazy rainstorm. It's pouring down rain, and then as we start to drive up and up to Kutsi, all within Nemea, now all of a sudden we come to the top of the hill, and there's no rain at all. What did you think about, the range of the Nemea wines, though? And I'm curious your impressions of those.
I'm just fascinated how dynamic this variety is. I mean, Agyorgitiko, when you take it, you can make it into so many different styles. And then given what we've seen here in the region, in the appellation, with the different elevations and soil types, and the regionality, the distinction, I find it absolutely fascinating. Really unique wines.
Did you get to know the freshness? I really enjoyed this.
Almost across the board. Freshness. I think that's a key in winemaking that we so often overlook, and so many great winemakers always say that to us. I'm looking for this freshness. Well, everything we've tasted has been bright and fresh and exciting, and I see a broad range happening here. And in a lot of places by a lot of different people, which is key, I think. It's not just one guy.
No.
You notice the soft tannins, actually, they're present, but they're velvety, they're very, very well, you feel them in your mouth, but they're not astringent, they're not dry, they just give more richness.
In each one of the little mesoclimates, in each one of the little soil types, in each valley, every time you turn, there's a new way of thinking about this grape.
This is a wine you can really match with a lot of foods, and it's I like it because it's not too strong, so you can take meat, But you can also take vegetarian food, you know, which is very common now all over the places.
Nemea was incredible, and after a glorious night's sleep in the comfortable guest house of this local winery, it's time to pack up and hit the road for Arcadia at the very heart of the Peloponnese Peninsula. Before our first official stop, we take a scenic drive of Mount Mainalon, a Google Earth treasure trove of nature trails, rafting adventures, and historical sites. You know, the right atmosphere can really make a wine tasting experience feel extraordinary. Where better to try this region's specialty, the floral, exotic Moscofilero, than right here in Mantinea, where it comes from. Right amongst these lovingly preserved stone buildings like this ancient dovecote we're in, which is now home to one of this region's most exciting and most modern wineries.
But here we are again in a cool region, drinking crisp, cool, refreshing wines. You know, we're at 500 meters above sea level, where ripening grapes is actually an issue as compared to this hot place we think of with the high alcohol and the low acid. There's nothing.
Total mindset change, and now I understand why Greece is considered the third most mountainous country in Europe. Wasn't that an incredible drive we just had over the mountains?
Yeah.
To pick white grape at mid-October at this latitude is incredible. With this big berries and late ripening, you don't have high alcohol in the wines. They still remain crisp, and it's very good acidity.
These aromatics to be this full and this forward at low alcohols is very uncommon in grape.
You can match this wine with many dishes, like with the greens, with the herbs.
It's rare that you can put wine with those types of foods, and that just shows its versatility. We've had a blast matching this with Asian food. I mean, I opened a Japanese restaurant recently, and this is one of the top sellers, this grape, the Moscofilero, matching with sashimi.
I remember we were talking when we did that seminar in Toronto about Asian food, Indian food. I consult an Indian restaurant, Thai restaurant, and an Indian restaurant, and one of the troubles I always have is, of course, the spiciness of those dishes, which tend to accentuate the alcohol. And Gewürztraminer is a go-to wine for many sommeliers, but the problem is that excessive heat that you get when you have a high alcohol Gewürztraminer with these particularly spicy dishes, and then you put in a Moscofilero, which has the aromatic intensity and the flavor intensity to match the intensity of these curries and these Indian spices, yet without the alcohol. So it's a brilliant.
You have acid and high acid, which work together to not combat the spiciness, but the spiciness doesn't kill this wine. To me, my general opinion has been, in my experience over the years of tasting these, that they're always better fresh, they're always better young, and they're best when they're bright, fruity, exciting, in your face. I love that.
So if you're ever in these parts and you can bear to tear yourself away from all the fine wine and delicious food, explore. Every village in Arcadia contains its own secret treasures, like the Museum of Arcadian Art in nearby Levity, This rich, almost mystical art collection is meticulously curated and maintained, an ideal place to grab a moment of genuine introspection and reflection. Okay, moment over. It's back to the guest house and a very special celebration.
Happy birthday to you.
I bet you didn't see that one coming, Viso.
Happy birthday, Mr. President. Happy birthday to you.
Now, you know, and let the main station of Butari, where from Athens. You have to love this country. I mean, you wake up in the cool breeze on a shady mountaintop, jump in the car, and next thing you know, you're sitting beside the clear blue sea in this glorious sunshine. Some fresh seafood would be perfect right now, but with Sinomavro producing regions of Naoussa and Amindio next on our journey, that's just going to have to wait. Doesn't get much better than this, does it? Here we are in Naoussa.
Well, you say Naoussa, I say Sinomavro.
And nicely said, too, sir.
Kind of lives up to its name in I guess, half the perspective. Sino, acid. Certainly these are really high-acid wines.
Very
I love
high acid.
the vibrancy. I love the acidity. I think it gives it great structure. But not so Mavro. It's not really a deep-colored variety at all. Much similar, much closer in color to, say, Pinot Noir or Nebbiolo.
You know, I didn't know this wine before. I'm happy that you guys took me here and showed me these varieties here.
As I was telling you in the bus, they have distinguished 5 different types of soil in Naoussa region, and it's very separated. It's a lot of diversity in sense of terroir.
You know, if I was going to introduce this wine to customers back in my restaurants at home, certainly wouldn't be a sipping wine brought at the beginning of the meal.
No, God, no.
Delivered
With
with the right food, particularly, give me some protein, give me some fat, give me a fatty piece of lamb, or even just a hard cheese where you've got tannin and fat that's going to coat these tannins here, soften it up, because otherwise I think it could be a little aggressive.
One of the things that I get in here is that tomato thing. You know, sun-dried tomatoes or whatever it is.
Right. In the older wines.
We love these wines older, and that they really need some age. I think that these wines age not just gracefully, but beautifully. Which I think is part of the reason that so many of us are crazy about this wine, that we love this wine so much. Not just is it difficult, but when it's done right, it's one of the truly great wines on the planet. Our tour of the Xinomavro growing regions continues in Amindio, the coolest viticultural area in all of Greece. Now, this cool climate with its sandy soil, very high altitude, and then the surrounding freshwater lakes are essential components of the area's unique terroir. But there's something else that makes this wine special.
Is it soft limestone or is it compact?
It's soft. It's soft.
Walking through the vineyards here, watching the local wine workers carefully handling the vines, you get this sense that the whole Amindio community revolves around wine. Their care and love for their work breathes true vitality and warmth into the winemaking process.
And I'm glad we came here to Amindio to see some of the differences in Xinomavro from Naousa, where we were yesterday, just to see how the cooler climate up here affects the variety and obviously the soil effects. Did you see the soils when we were driving by?
Sandy soils give you more subtle wines, more gentle, more elegant. Also, we're in a cool climate zone, so you can have very good rosés here because you have the freshness. And you see, because well, all of us already had sniffed a bit the wines, you see that the aromatic profile is different.
The difference in color here. You see, it's got much more blue tones, darker color than the Xinomavro from Naousa. I'm still shocked at the difference in fruit quality between these wines and what we were tasting yesterday. Just the fact that the fruit is so fresh and it's still strawberry, it's still red berry dominated, it's still cherry dominated, but a different profile from Naousa. Naousa I found a little bit more rich and full and ripe and dense and concentrated. Not that these wines lack density and concentration, but the fruit profile is different, and it's got this deceptive power along with elegance. I mean, you get all the finesse and elegance up front, but yet long, lingering finish underneath.
Well, it's easy to see why this appellation, has the appellation for rosé. The rosés are gorgeous here, and I think the world should be made aware of these rosés. I know personally, I'm constantly showing these to people, saying, "Check this out. Have you ever tasted rosé quite like that?" I think Xinomavro makes a beautiful rosé. After a truly delightful wine tasting session, it's time to take in a little fresh air and those breathtaking views of Mount Vitzi on the way to the very top and the village of Nymphaeo.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Where we're about to meet some truly historic locals.
She just wants to rock and roll.
A short walk along these beautifully maintained cobblestone streets is the perfect way to work up just enough of an appetite to try John's personal fave food fetish, the divine bougatsa. Cream pie? To me, but sprinkle this baby with a little cinnamon, wash it down with some Greek coffee. As the sun sets over the hills, it's time to head to our guest house to enjoy some of its exquisite, locally sourced haute cuisine. Looks like they've got two different risottos in store for us tonight. The first features a selection of mushrooms picked just this morning by Mr. Contosaurus himself, and would be just the ideal accompaniment to a fine Sonoma Bro, while the tangy apricots in the second just scream white wine. Muscofilero, anybody?
Και το άλλο οριζόντιο θα είναι για να συνοδεύσουμε με ένα λευκό κρασί.
Very good.
Great job, guys. Looks delish. Santorini, Acertico. I think I'm in heaven.
So can you imagine? Here we stand on the caldera, tasting Santorini. This is like a dream come true for me. Imagine what this was like 1,000 years ago, or even a few hundred years ago. I mean, think about the volcano erupting here, and the soils that have resulted from that are amazing.
It's incredible to see this chunk of volcanic rock in the middle of the Aegean, and obviously that soil impacts so dramatically on the wines that are made here. I mean, I
smell it, can't you? Yeah. Everything here is just terroir.
And I have to think that that's obviously due to the soil and also the way the vines are well, they're not even trellised. I mean, I know people who've come to Santorini, driven around, and had no idea that wine was actually grown on this island, because you don't see the usual rows of vines nicely trellised and organized. You just see these bushes, essentially. They're not even goblet trained, but I mean, this is pretty much the only place, maybe one or two other Mediterranean islands, where they take the new shoots and then weave them into an almost basket-like shape. It does look very much like a basket. Right on the ground. You have obviously no worries of humidity here, since it's sunny 368 days a year. And then growing the bunches.
It never rains in the summer ever. The only moisture is coming off of the ocean at nighttime.
Yeah, I think the dew from the mornings.
The vines are vulnerable to fierce winds blowing in from the Aegean, so you actually need this kind of protection to help these grapes grow.
And in looking at it during harvest time, those grapes literally are on the ground. I mean, they're growing in the middle of that basket, and they're almost touching the ground, and yet there's no danger because of this volcanic soil, which has no nutrients. It has
zero organic matter.
I mean, everything here is basically organic because it's all inorganic. There's nothing, there's never been phylloxera here because it can't survive, because nothing can survive.
I get reminded on the Riesling in Germany.
Particularly the way it ages.
Yeah.
Aging like a great Riesling.
We've all had the opportunity to taste a few older vintages. I know you back to the 90s, I've certainly had at least 10, 12-year-old examples of Santorini, and I'm just astonished by how well these wines age.
A great word.
I like even the structure with the stronger characters of these wines.
You know, anyone who's ever been to Santorini talks about the energy of this place, but imagine what it's like to just stand here, looking at this. Probably the world's most famous sunset, if not the most beautiful. I mean, the energy, volcanic rocks, the Aegean. You've got to be here to believe it.
Everything is unique. With the round, the planting, the root, the pruning system, everything is unique in the island.
You can certainly taste in the wines all of the things you've been talking about, the volcanic soil and the stress on these vines and all of the conditions. It's like when you put your nose in a glass of Santorini, you're going to Santorini. Here's a fact for you. We are standing in possibly the world's oldest vineyard. Self-rooted native rootstocks, porous volcanic soil, and shaped by a geological tug-of-war between lava and ocean, Assyrtiko is over 3,500 years old.
Γεια σας. Θα κάνουμε φάβα με λάδι μαστίχας και γαρίδες σοτέ.
And at the award-winning Celine restaurant, it's my turn to get a master class in the simplicity and freshness that govern the Greeks' approach to fine dining. The highlights of tonight's meal are a puree made from local fava beans, topped with aromatic mastic oil and fresh shrimp, a creative twist on a Santorini specialty. If I could just have this, I could make mojitos out of my suitcase.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's a great costume.
Oh my goodness.
thinking back what we got as an experience about new wines of Greece.
Quite a trip, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Fantastic little journey we were just on.
What a beautiful way to end it, too. Just, you're right, sitting here under the Acropolis.
Sipping the great wine.
Now, you think about how versatile this country is. And people, I think, you know, to the point of this idea of versatility, people come here thinking beach, but there's an opportunity to see so much more, to explore the traditions, to see these archaeological sites, but also to go to these wineries and be welcomed so warmly.
How many more varieties are there to discover? I mean, we could probably name a few around the table. One of my favorites, like Robola and Roditis, white varieties that make really unique wines.
And Malagousia, which, you know, we all believe it's certainly one of the grapes of the future. I mean, we explored those regions. One of my favorites is Kidonitsa, you know, a grape from Monemvasia that is ancient, the Malagousia, which kind of started this whole thing. There are 350 plus indigenous grapes in this country. You know, with this exploration idea, the idea of, you know, some of these new grapes we haven't gotten to yet, Mavrotragano, how about that one, you know?
I think I know where you're going.
I'm thinking...
I think I know where we're going.
Maybe? We should just come back, do another tour. This time we'll do all the other regions, all the other grapes. Make sure we do the dessert wines. We've got to get to all the different islands. What do you think? A sailboat to every island in Greece. To next year. How about to this year? Pretty great trip, huh? What a journey it's been, full of old favorites and delightful new discoveries. But the new wines of Greece are so well made and so diverse, and the wine region so bountiful, even though we've been on the road for 10 days. It feels like we've barely scratched the surface of all this country has to offer. The good news is, it's all here, waiting for you, yours to discover.